who you become, is far more important than what you get. The reason is simple. What you get can always be taken away, but who you become, no one can take that from you. That's why I believe in focusing on becoming who you want to be. Think about it. What would happen if you invested in yourself with the same energy you invest in what you want to achieve? What kind of person would you become if you spent your time and effort shaping your character, your habits, and your mindset, instead of only chasing after goals? The question isn't just, what do you want to get, but who do you want to become in the process? Now, becoming who you want to be starts with a decision. That's the key word here, decision. You've got to decide who that person is. What kind of person do you want to wake up as tomorrow? See, most people are living their lives based on who they've been told they are. They've adopted identities from their past, from their surroundings, from their circumstances. But here's the real challenge. Will you let your past define who you are, or will you define who you want to be in the future? We've all got two choices. One is to accept the default setting life has given us. The second is to intentionally design the kind of person we want to be. I'm telling you, it takes effort, but the rewards are endless. Now tell me, what are the qualities you admire in others? Maybe it's someone you know, someone you work with, or maybe it's a public figure. Think about the qualities you respect in those people. Integrity, discipline, generosity, compassion, whatever it may be. Now, why do you admire those qualities? I'll tell you why. It's because deep down you recognize that those qualities have value. They have value not only in society, but in shaping your own life. But here's the critical part. You can become those qualities. You can cultivate them, just like a gardener cultivates a garden. Think about it this way. Your mind is like a garden. If you don't plant good seeds, weeds will grow automatically. You don't have to plant the weeds. They show up on their own, don't they? But if you want the roses, the fruits, the vegetables, you've got to plant them intentionally. It takes work to water them, nurture them, protect them from the weeds. Becoming who you want to be works the same way. Most people are passive gardeners in their lives. They let the weeds of negative thinking, doubt, and fear take over. But if you want to be someone different, if you want to grow qualities like discipline, courage, and perseverance, you've got to plant those seeds consciously. You've got to work on them daily. You've got to water them with effort, with attention, with intention. So, how do we plant these seeds in our minds, in our lives, and in our actions? It starts with vision. You've got to have a clear picture of the person you want to become. Just like a gardener has a plan for what to plant, where to plant it, and when to water it, you've got to have a plan for yourself. You can't just say, I want to be successful, or I want to be happy. Those are too vague. You've got to be specific. What does success mean to you? What does happiness look like? Who is the person who lives in that state of success and happiness? Write it down. Get a pen and paper and start writing. There's something powerful about taking thoughts out of your mind and putting them onto paper. It makes them real. It gives them weight. Write down the qualities you want to develop. Write down the habits you want to break. Write down the vision of who you want to become. Let's say you want to be someone who is disciplined. You admire people who can stick to their goals and see them through. Now, if you want to become that person, you've got to start practicing discipline every day. It's not enough to want it. You've got to do it. And how do you practice discipline? It's in the small things. It's in deciding to wake up 30 minutes earlier, to read, to plan, to meditate, whatever it is that moves you closer to your goal. It's in making the decision to stick to your schedule when your mind tries to convince you to take it easy. See, discipline isn't a big, flashy thing. It's not about making one grand decision that changes everything. It's about the little choices you make every single day. And as you make those choices, something happens. You start to see yourself differently. You start to believe that you are disciplined. And once you believe it, it becomes a part of you. You've planted that seed, and now it's growing. The same goes for any other quality you want to develop. Maybe it's courage. You want to become someone who faces fear head on, who doesn't back down from challenges. Well, how do you practice courage? You don't need to wait for some life-threatening situation to come along. You practice it in the small moments, by speaking up when you're afraid to, by stepping outside of your comfort zone, by taking on a project that intimidates you. Every time you choose to act, despite the fear, you're cultivating courage. You're becoming more of who you want to be. And remember, who you want to become is directly connected to the people you surround yourself with. It's an old idea, but it's as true today as it was centuries ago. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you spend your time with people who complain, who make excuses, who don't push themselves to grow, guess what? That's who you'll become. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who are positive, who are disciplined, who are constantly improving, that's who you'll start to become. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying you should cut people out of your life, but I am saying you've got to be conscious of the influence others have on you. Pay attention to it. If you want to become someone who is positive, generous, and hardworking, find people who embody those qualities and spend more time with them. Learn from them. Observe how they think, how they act, how they respond to challenges. The more you're around that energy, the more it will rub off on you. Here's another key point to all of this. Learn how to talk to yourself. We've all got that voice in our heads, don't we? It's constantly talking, constantly judging, constantly interpreting the world around us. The problem is most people let that voice run on autopilot. They don't realize that the voice in their head is shaping who they are. If you're telling yourself, I can't do this or I'm not good enough, guess what? You'll act according to those beliefs. Your self-talk is like the steering wheel of your life. If it's negative, it'll steer you in a negative direction. But here's the good news. You can change that voice. You can train it to speak positively, to speak words of encouragement, to remind you of your strengths instead of your weaknesses. The key is to become aware of it. Pay attention to what you're saying to yourself throughout the day. When you catch yourself saying something negative, stop. Replace it with something positive, something empowering. At first, it might feel strange. But over time, just like any other habit, it becomes natural. And as your self-talk changes, so will you. Now let's talk about something that's often overlooked, but incredibly important. Integrity. Being who you want to be means being someone you can respect, someone you can trust. And that starts with integrity. Integrity is about being honest with yourself and with others. It's about following through on your word, doing what you say you're going to do, and living in alignment with your values. Without integrity, everything else falls apart. You can't truly be the person you want to be if you're constantly breaking promises to yourself, if you're not living up to your own standards. Integrity builds self-respect, and self-respect builds confidence. Confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about knowing that you can trust yourself to handle whatever comes your way. It's about knowing that you're doing your best to live up to the vision you've set for yourself. So how do you build integrity? You start by making small commitments to yourself and following through. Don't overcommit.